Boys, harvest memories are easily my favorite thing so far that I've gotten out of 3.19. This feels like what harvest should be. This is just exactly what I would want from harvest. Go in, you kill a bunch of enemies, you get a bunch of juice, and then you either sell it or use it for something else. Now, aside from that, I'm not super happy with the situation on Harvest Crafts in general and where they're at the moment. However, there are a few pretty particular harvest crafts that are worth a lot of money right now, and that is driving the price of juice up. So you may want to jump on this while you can, because I can't guarantee that even a week or 2 weeks from now that it will be as profitable as it is at the moment. Now remember, boys, if you're enjoying this content, make sure to give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit that notification bell to stay up to date with all the latest videos. And without further ado, let's get into it. So if you're not sure about what a harvest memory is or what a memory is in general, they are these items here. They are extremely rare, they don't drop very often, and the only way that you're going to be able to farm these is if you're buying them on trade. You're not going to be able to farm these yourself. So the way that they work is that these are an item that you use physically on your atlas. So you're going to right click them, you'll come over to your atlas here, and you will use them on a specific map in a specific area. The current map that I've been using my memories on is Ashen Woods. This has felt the best for me. Now when it comes to choosing which map to put this on, the way that these memories work is you apply it to a spot on your atlas and it's going to stretch to 4 separate maps. Now, as far as I know, I am not 100% certain here, but this has been my experience through all of the memories that I've done. The memories attempt to go up for the most part. So if you apply a memory to the atlas, it seems that they prefer to move upwards. They don't ever really move downwards as far as I could tell. And beyond that, they don't really care about anything else. I've had them go in circles like this. I've had them go up and to the left, up and to the right, directly up. It doesn't seem like they care about anything except for going up. Now, as for choosing where you're going to place it, in this current strategy, the main way that you're going to be doing this is you are just looking to find the harvest plot. That is absolutely it. There's no other purpose here. So what you're wanting to do is you're wanting to apply this to areas where it's relatively guaranteed that you are going to be getting good maps in general. Now, what consists of a good map? We are talking about very open maps. Things like dunes are very solid. Things like Ashen Woods are also very solid. Things like Vault is okay because it typically is going to spawn in the initial like square or like 2 rectangles, and it's pretty easy to find. Out of these, the worst map is probably Waste Pool. It can also just go straight this way. I've had it happen before. Grave Trough is okay because you can just run around the inner square and it's not too bad. You're really just looking to find this harvest. Now, the reason why you're ignoring everything else is because these particular harvest memories and memories in general, the way that they work, is kind of similar if you remember when you used to talk to Zana to open up Conqueror maps. These memories have their own particular instance here, and they do not respect your atlas whatsoever. So anything that you've got on your atlas, anything that you've got on like your atlas tree, you can't put any currency extra in there, no fragments, no anything. It completely disregards all of this. So that being said, all we really care about is juicing this map as much as we can to affect the harvest seeds themselves. So how are you going to do that? Well, the way that I've come up with is we are essentially just going to be chiseling, alking. I personally have been hitting them with Chaos Orbs just because I'm kind of a little bit lazy. If you are wanting to save a little bit of money, you can just do Alk and Scour. However, time is kind of money here, so I think that just hitting it with Chaos Orbs is fine. We are just trying to roll these as difficult as we can possibly get. And this brings you to the first thing that you need to know about this strategy. These are not easy. These are relatively difficult encounters. They are harvest mobs, which are some of the most dangerous mobs in the game, and you need to be able to roll these maps as difficult as you can possibly get. And also, I forgot, we need Vol Orbs. On average from my testing, we got like a 15 to 20% average increase of a total juice that we get back from this by voling the maps. However, you do need to be playing a build that can pretty much run any map mod that exists to get the most out of this. It would feel really bad to go to your final memory, which has like a lot of juice, and then you roll like 3 mods that you can't do, and you either need to like swap to a different build or bring someone else in to do it, or just completely ignore it, which would be the worst case. So you gotta be able to handle Reflect. You gotta be able to handle some pretty insane modifiers. When it gets up to the point where these maps say 60% increased explicit modifier magnitudes, I have seen things like 96% reduced effective auras, 96% reduced recovery rate, and like 25 to 26% reflect, monsters doing like 600% crit, and all kinds of crazy stuff altogether. So keep in mind, you need to have a relatively safe and powerful build to be able to do this. The faster that it moves and the better it is at clearing, the better that this strategy is going to go for you. Now, that being said, the way that you do this is you're going to chisel them up, you're going to hit it with an alchemy orb, and what I typically look for when I'm running these is on the first map, I'm trying to get around 100 quantity, and then add about 10 to that for every single one past it. So the first map, about 100, second map, about 110, 120, 130, before you even try to vol it. We really want to increase the quantity here because we're just trying to get as much juice as we can from the harvest mobs. So for example, this map would be acceptable, right? I can do all these mods on here. Less area of effect is kind of bad. Vulnerability is a little dangerous, and double gained is definitely dangerous. However, we are just going to go ahead and hit this with a vol orb. Now, a few different things can happen, and this is kind of an example of some of the bad things that can happen, okay? So if you vol it, all the normal things that can happen to a map are going to be able to happen. It can either go unidentified, which is the best outcome that you can get, means you just get 20% extra quantity. It could go to an 8 mod map like this, which can be extremely dangerous, and it can do nothing, and I think it can just reroll the map. So in this case, it went up to a much higher quantity, got a lot more dangerous, but this is okay for us. This is a map that this build can handle. So we'll go ahead and run this, and it is just going to open the first memory, as you can see here, in Ashen Wood on the Atlas. Now, when we go in here, time is the essence of the game. We don't really care about anything else going on in this map. Kind of ignore my build. This is the ice like hybrid slinger from a couple leagues ago. I'm gonna make a video about this, but it builds kind of a meme, if I'm gonna be real. It's good, but an absolutely disgusting amount of currency has been spent on this build just because I kind of like it, and I've been like testing the current state of crafting and such. But all that we're really worried about here is finding this harvest, and here we are. So we're just going to run straight in. Now, the difference between harvest in a normal map and the harvest here is that there are no more choices, and you are simply just going to be given a plot of just random mobs to fight. You'll see that there's like blue mobs, yellow mobs, tier 2s, tier 3s, and a decent amount of tier 4s. We'll get more into stats later on in the video. I've got a Google Doc with a bunch of the memories that I ran. We ran it over the course of like 2 or 3 days, I think, over at twitch.tv/BigDoc. It's on stream, which you should go follow, by the way. So the way that this works is you just click it, and a whole bunch of mobs are going to spawn. Now, these are super dangerous, and these mods on these maps are pretty insane. So just be aware. You really got to have a pretty good build to be able to handle this. I still die relatively frequently when the map mods get really hard. Like, I ran into a map where it was corrupted, and I got like -19 max res, double gained as like cold and lightning, 96% reduced recovery rate, no leech, like all kinds of insane stuff that completely bricks the build, right? However, the build is still able to manage it, but just keep in mind, when you get up to these like really high level ones, it's gonna be very difficult. But as you can see, even just one plot here is dropping somewhere in the realm of like 1,000 of this life force, and it only goes up from here. Now, you will get just generic drops. This is a map with like, you know, 137% quantity. In the 2 days that I farmed this, I think I found like 3 raw divine drops and a bunch of other stuff. So you can just actually get normal drops here. They do just drop normal items as well. But keep in mind, you're really mainly focusing on the life force. It's all that you really care about. You just want to kill these mobs, get the life force down. Do be aware, they're harvest mobs, and they do have arch nemesis modifiers, and they can absolutely whoop you if you get some bad ones altogether. But this is the general like gist of the strategy. Now, what can happen, as you can see here, is very convenient. You can spawn tier 4 bosses. Now, the most that I have seen in one plot at one time is 3 bosses in the same plot. It is really rare, but you can find 2 or 3 bosses at the same time. Do be aware that probably my biggest issue with this strategy overall is the fact that when you get the yellow boss is really annoying to fight against. Because the problem with the yellow boss is he just goes invisible and he jumps around all over the place, and he's really just kind of a pain to deal with, right? This is the blue one. The blue boss is honestly not that bad. He kind of just like spits stuff out. You do have to be careful. It can be a little misleading. Like the purple bear boss can make you think that she's going up in the air, but she's actually just doing a slam and she one-shots you. But you just fight it for a little bit like this here, finish it off after it does its channel, and we've got a whole bunch of essence. Now, the boss itself does drop a pretty significant amount of essence. In the higher tier maps, you can get like 400-ish from like the really high quantity maps. pretty good amount of crystallized life essence that you can get out of here. It is pretty profitable at the moment as well. As of right now, if you sell in bulk, for yellow essence for the vivid crystallized life force, it's like 3,500 of this essence for a divine. For the blue essence, it's like, I think like 8,000-ish for a divine. For the red essence, it's like 5,000-ish for a divine, but we'll talk more about specifics later. We'll finish this last plot, and then we'll go into more of the math and my findings on what we've gotten from this strategy in general. So, as always, just run in, do as much damage as you can, try to kill them fast, because if you leave these to hit you for too long of a time, they kind of just compound and get worse and worse and worse and worse. So do keep in mind that with these memories, it does scale over time. The first memory is going to give you 15% extra modifiers, and then 30, 45, and 60, resulting in a ton of juice at the very last map. But that's it. Once you finish all of the different harvest plots, you're just going to jump out. It's not worth clearing the map. You can use these memories to actually get some Atlas completion. I have not done almost anything Atlas-wise this league. I got like, I think 10 maps completed just by, you know, popping the memory. Like if I needed to get these two, you just pop the memory on this one, and it has a pretty good chance of going up this way. And as long as you roll the map, like yellow and corrupt it, you can get like unlocks as long as you're killing the boss on pretty much anything that you want. You just got to remember to kill the boss, which I never do. And then you run to Einhar again. He's going to have another secret friend to go hang out with. You can see it's 30% this time. You roll it the same exact way. You pick up all the items, and then I suggest the best way to make money doing this is you sell this stuff in bulk. So you can see I've got like 50,000 of each color here. I've already sold a decent amount of this, but 50,000 of each color. These were the prices that I was selling it for initially before I started doing it in bulk. So you can see this is from like, I think 5 hours of farming, roughly 5 or 6 hours of farming or something like that, maybe a little bit less. I honestly couldn't tell you, but this is like what, 10 to 15 divine or something like that, somewhere around that in just yellow essence. So there's a lot of money here, and if you sell it in very large bulk, you can get even more money out of it. But let's take a look at all of the data that we got over the course of about a day or two. Okay, so this is the data that I got from running around 20 or so of these memories. Now do keep in mind, 20 memories is roughly 80 maps, as well as like 50 divine invested in these, so I would have liked to do 50 or 100 of them, but this is a pretty decent amount of data. I do think it's slightly skewed, and I will tell you why when we get to the point about bosses, but it's skewed in a way that is actually a little bit positive and will lead us towards corrupting more of the maps. Now, what do we know from the data? So if we are not corrupting the maps, that's what I started out doing, we do get an average of, I'm using the little Google numbers here, 5380 of each of the essence. That's the average amount we make for each color of essence. Now, over the course of time, you do actually make pretty consistently the same amount of all of the essences. You'll see it's roughly around 50k that I've got of everything. It leans a little bit higher on red for what I did, a little bit lower on blue, and in the middle I have yellow. Now, this is pretty good over the course of a long period of time, means that it's relatively likely you're going to get an even amount of all colors. But as I said, for the non-corrupted ones, an average of 5380. Once I started corrupting them, however, the average did go up to around 5,700. So a pretty decent jump, around like 300 to 400 essence more, which is a pretty sizable jump. However, I do think that those numbers are a little bit skewed, because as you can see here under tier 4 bosses, I got a unbelievably lucky run, with a lot of that being in non-corrupted. I got 5, 5, 5, 7, 5 in the non-corrupted ones, and this is unbelievably lucky, right? When you look lower down here, you'll see that my numbers got a lot more volatile, whereas I just got so many bosses in a row here. Some of them did go into the corrupted, but the majority of them were in the non-corrupted map, so I think that skewed the amount I got of non-corrupted a little bit higher. So from my testing, what I can tell is that corrupting your maps is definitely a lot better. It does give you a lot more essence on average, or life force, whatever you want to call it. However, it does make them significantly more dangerous. I'm going to say that if you're going to want to run this strategy, you do really need to be able to push these maps as much as you can, and you need to be able to handle all the mods, because the difference is pretty substantial. It's at least 10 to 15%, I think, in my opinion. Like I said, my data's a little bit skewed because of this crazy lucky like streak that I got here, but that's my feeling on it. Now, when it comes to Sacred Blossoms, these are the entrance key to Oshabi. We got less than 10% of the bosses dropping Sacred Blossoms. I actually think that it is quite a bit lower than that, because once again, I got pretty lucky in a streak here for a while. I do think that it's probably like a 5 to 8% drop rate. If I had to guess, it's pretty low. So Sacred Blossoms do sell for quite a bit. You can either sell the Sacred Blossom or you can fight Oshabi and sell the finalized item. Either or is about the same amount of money you're going to make. Sometimes you'll get like a really lucky Shaco drop, but that's absurdly rare, so don't plan on it. Oshabi is guaranteed to drop her like piece, like her farming Lifeforce, whatever it is, the crystallized, I don't know what the name of it is, which is worth a decent amount, but you can just sell the Sacred Blossom itself. Now, when it comes to calculating how much money per hour that you can make, when I was running these on the corrupted variety, I was making around 8 divine per hour. Now, I figured this out by seeing how long it took me to run a memory, how if I could like maintain and sustain memories throughout the entire time. You might not be able to, depending on how popular this gets. The economy is kind of dying right now. There's not a lot of supply of a lot of things. So this may dry out if a bunch of people start trying to do it. I know a bunch of people are already doing it, so hopefully this video doesn't affect that too much, but it is a possibility. Keep that in mind. You might want to jump on it right away. And this is factoring in a 15-minute runtime. On average, I was doing better than 15 minutes, but if you're like dying and, you know, slow, or you're not rolling them super fast, or you're just kind of trying to take it chill, you're going to be a little bit slower. So I'm going to average out at about 15 minutes because that accounts for like buying them and all that kind of other stuff as well. This is also selling in bulk, and it is accounting for a Sacred Blossom drop rate of about 8%. Now, it is not accounting for the 3 raw divines that I dropped because I thought that that was pretty lucky. So that's not factored into it. It is just simply the amount of Lifeforce sold in bulk, which we'll talk about here, as well as the amount of time that it took me. This is with a pretty good build for what I was doing. But if we look at the actual Lifeforce itself, if you go and you search by divine and we go to exotic currency and we say look at yellow Lifeforce, the most expensive one, on average you're going to get about a divine for every 3,500 that you sell. Now the thing is that, and the reason why I tell you to sell this in bulk, is that if you look at how much you are going to be getting if you sell in 50,000 bulk, it's down to 3,000-ish for a divine, meaning that you are making quite a bit more money if you're selling these in very large bulk. People are going to want to save time. They're going to want to buy large amounts of this essence so they can just spam as much as they need and they don't need to think about it. So if you can like gather up like 100,000 of this, you can make a ton more money, because you'll see some of the people that have like very large amounts of this are even trying to sell it in like the 2,000 range. 3,000 is about the best you're going to do. So I figure that you should at least try to earn up about 50,000 of each color before you start trying to sell in bulk. It'll save you time and not doing a whole bunch of trades, because only people who are wanting to buy a bunch are going to even worry about buying a bunch. So calculating how much money that you personally are going to make, you can take my numbers if you want to see and go off of the price of the base actual item, which when I was purchasing them was like 2.5 divine each. And that is all factored in, right? The 8 divine per hour is factoring in the cost of buying the materials, the time, and everything and all of that. So take whatever price it is, see how many of these that you can actually run per hour, like do a memory or two and just see how long it takes you. If it's taking you more than 15 minutes, you're probably going to be closer to like 6 divine an hour. If it's taking you less, like if you've got a really fast, really good clearing, like mapping build that just runs real fast and can kill enemies real fast, maybe you can get this done in 10 minutes and you can make way more money than I can if you get like 50% more efficient or something. So definitely a pretty good strategy, and I think that it's worth some time, and it's one of the more fun things to do this league that is a new mechanic that's been added in. Now, talking about the rest of the memories, there is one other memory that is profitable. That is the essence-based memory, but it is notoriously extremely difficult, and you can run into some absolutely unbelievably powerful monsters. I don't think that it's worth running over the harvest ones pretty much ever. However, if you want to give it a shot, you can, but I do think that it is less money. The other ones, the Breach and the Harbinger ones, are absolute trash. The Harbinger one in particular, I ran a few of them, and it is pretty bad. I think that the amount of money that I made, they cost almost nothing to buy the Harbinger ones. The maps are extremely difficult. They don't respect your atlas. I think I made like 100 chaos, and I had to do 4 maps. And that's all that I made, was just like a couple ancient orbs, a couple annulment orbs, and like some chaos, and I think some exalted shards. So really genuinely not worth it in my opinion. You don't get your atlas strat. You're better off just doing like some random outgo strategy probably at that point. It's probably going to be more money per hour because those maps get very difficult. I think the final one has like 160% more monster life and 40% more monster damage and 60% increased effect of all the modifiers. It's just an absurd amount of difficulty for not really very much money at all. So do the harvest one. That's the one that I suggest. Keep in mind, if the price keeps going up and the price of the Lifeforce goes down, Probably not a good strategy to run anymore, but you'll have to do that math for yourself whenever you're watching this video. And that's pretty much going to be it. I thought that the harvest memories were pretty cool. I am confused as to why this wasn't the league mechanic, and we got what we did, which is Lake of Calandra, which is pretty uninspired and boring, to be honest with you, after interacting with it a little bit, but it is what it is. Hopefully they flesh out memories a little bit more. We get some other cool memories. There's some stuff in the game files that shows like some different kinds of memories of all the different league mechanics. I think that'd be pretty solid because memories are really cool. So let's hope we get some more of them. And remember, boys, if you enjoy this content, give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit that notification bell to stay up to date with all the latest videos, and stay safe out there in Ray class. And I'll see you guys in the next video.